Hi everyone, I'm Heather and I've been a photographer for over 14 years and I've been working with Photoshop for about 10 years. I've been a member of PPOC since 2019. My first accreditation was image manipulation and I now have 6. I never planned on being a photographer until my boys were grown and didn't depend on me. I was a stay-at-home mom and I homeschooled my boys. I love art and I had a creative imagination. I live with pictures and ideas in my head all the time, and it's been a challenge to see if I can create art with what I see in my head. When someone shows interest in working with me, I schedule a consult to see their vision and I share what I see. When we are talking, I see exactly what they are seeing. I injured myself and was unable to lift my lights around. I showed Steve, my husband, my style of lighting, and he has been with me at almost every photo shoot project. I'd like to introduce my husband, Steve. He has been following me on my journey.
Hi everybody, I'm Steve. Just going to help out here, and we'll be talking back and forth about the different images and Heather's process.
It all starts with an idea. Where do ideas come from? Ideas are floating around in the universe waiting for me to grab them. If an idea comes to you, accept it and use it, or it will move to the next person. Here is a vision of my mind. It's like a staircase, a spiraling staircase that goes up, and then everywhere you look is dust and cobwebs. And when you get to the top, it's like a library. Those boxes where they hold all the cards, and they're popping out everywhere with different ideas on them.
Yep, that's about right.
One day I'll do a Photoshop of it.
Can't wait to see that one. A wow moment.
This is my vision board. Ever have one of those wow moments?
Yeah, you have them all the time.
I have them all the time, yes. Watching TV, lying in bed, just listening to people talk. I have a bucket list of images I want to complete.
It's quite often she'll just stop whatever we're doing and go, Steve, you need to listen to this. I got something to tell you. And I'm thinking, okay, great, what now? And then she tells me her vision. I'm going, okay, wow.
What is a vision board? I have a wow moment. That's where it starts. Then I start writing down the props I need to purchase. I go to a few secondhand stores, look on Marketplace, or I look to see if I have any in the prop room at the studio. Once I have everything, I start looking for pictures online. I create a blank sheet in Photoshop. If I'm using a makeup artist, I look for the one that fits my idea. I decide what kind of lighting I want to go with and the mood of the project. Sometimes it's a series of images to just one. I've had a few that all I wanted was just one image.
And then you do a description of the final image for your mood board. So what does one look like?
Well, here's one.
Wow.
What is this project? Can you figure out what type of lighting I want? What is the title? And what is the mood I'm going with? What do you think, Steve?
Well, I think it looks pretty moody. It's going to be dark. Obviously, all those elements together, someone's not going to do very well. But yeah, I like it. It's cool.
Here you go. I have this photo shoot already done. I just have to edit it in Photoshop. I came up with this because we played this as a child.
So, true facts. It originated in Europe during the 17th century and was played when a prisoner facing death demanded the right of words and life.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
See, I like to look up Google on a project to see if it really was something. And that's where I get a lot of my ideas is from history.
So now everyone played this game as a kid, but no one ever thought about what the final outcome was going to be if you failed.
So do you want to read the...
Sure, so it's obviously going for a dark, creepy mood, dramatic top-down lighting, a bit of badger maybe there to show the outline. The background is lit using fog. The subject is dressed in dark clothing, standing on a stump under a gallows, noose around his neck. Foggy background lit by a moon, and then a raven standing on top of the gallows with the word hangman at the bottom with some of the letters missing, just to show that it's actually the game Hangman.
So keep an eye out, because soon this is going to be for everybody to see.
I can't wait to see it.
Here's another one, Moby Dick. I've been talking about Moby Dick for quite a while. I had to find all of these props. I've been working on this for almost a year.
So this is based on the 2006 movie Failure to Launch and the book Moby Dick, sort of combined together. There was a scene in there with Terry Bradshaw from the movie where he was standing behind a fish tank feeding the fish, wearing absolutely nothing. And Heather sort of combined that with Moby Dick to come up with a dark and serious comedy.
Yeah. So in this mood board, vision board, you see the rope, the gel, the whale, which was painted white, the fish bowl we found at the pet store. Trying to find size 13 yellow rubber boots was a challenge, so guess who had to paint them?
We bought black ones and painted them yellow.
You painted them
I painted
yellow.
them yellow, yeah.
Yeah.
I get all the fun tasks.
The glass balls?
Yes.
We purchased those off of a photographer 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to do a photo shoot with them
One day.
Yeah.
Here we are. So what came out of this? Call me Ishmael. For those of you who don't know, this is the first line from the book Moby Dick. So trying to come up with a line with a title for this for the salon. Originally we just going to call it Moby Dick, but then thought it would be a little more clever if we went with Call Me Ishmael.
So if anybody's read the book or has not read the book, that is the first line in that book.
And what did you get for this in the regional
This
salon?
received a merit in the regional image salon this year.
And it's going to go into the national one next year, right?
Yes.
Perfect. I felt a little chilly. I don't know. It was a little cool in there when we did this one.
Well, thank goodness all the doors were locked.
Yeah, no kidding. So there's a closer look at it.
So this was a challenge, and this was a planned photo shoot. I wanted to make sure I had all the elements to create this image so that I could turn around and say there was absolutely no Photoshop stock added to this.
Yeah, no stock, just all images that you created.
So every maker has a story in mind. What does this tell you?
Every viewer sees their own story. So people who look at this may see something different until they look closely at what's going on. Don't look too closely though.
What do you see in this image? So here is another vision board. This vision board took me about 3 months to come up with everything that I wanted for it. And then to gather all the props and set the date. I seldom put anything into the studio or anyone in the studio and start photographing without a plan. All my personal projects are planned out.
And that's all of the costume there on the right hand side that we purchased from different locations.
A lot of it was on, I think, Amazon.
Yeah.
And then the stock images down below I bought, I think it was from Shutterstock. And the middle picture underneath the lighting setup, that is what I came up with by putting 2 pictures together.
And then I had to paint the helmet because it was not matching the shield. And who was the model for this one?
This is my good friend Dustin.
Yes.
He was living in Mexico at the time, and I asked him if he'd be interested in doing this photo shoot, and he said, well, of course, but I have to tone down. I have to get the muscles and give me some time. So we waited. It took about a year, I guess.
Probably about a year. But he was
from the beginning to the end.
He was a lot bigger than this when he started. He's a bodybuilder. And you can see the scar over his right eye. That was our makeup artist that did all that on him. There's a few more images from that series, that shoot.
The lighting was my standard 5 light setup at the studio. I wanted to do this project because I just bought a new Gladiator Jeep truck. I actually traded in my Jeep for this, the Gladiator, and I want to put a picture on the side of it pretty soon.
Yeah, he certainly suits that character, doesn't he, eh? Yeah.
He had fun. Every time I get him in the studio, it takes double the length of time to get the photos because we have so much fun and we laugh and we catch up and a lot of talking.
And then he'll have a drink of wine to make his muscles and his veins pop. Challenges make you discover things about yourself that you never really knew. So I know this from my own personal experience too, that if I don't challenge myself, then there's parts of myself that I'll never understand unless you really push yourself to do things that you've never done before.
That's what I do a lot, is I constantly challenge myself to be better, to be different, to improve. And you have to do it. So this was my old basement studio in our last house. It was about 11 by 14 room with 8-foot ceilings. I worked here for about 5 years, then we sold the house. That was hard because I had to clean up and remove everything out of the basement and put it all back to normal. Learning strobes in this environment was a big challenge. It helped me create a look that gave me the drama and the impact I love so much. In that small shooting area, I had about 6 lights available. What were they?
So we had a hair light on the track. We had the 2 strip lights. You can see one of them there in the back. There was an octobox which we could switch from side to side, and then there was another fill light on the opposite side. And sometimes, because the lights were so close to fall off, you wouldn't see the feet. We would have a 6th light that would just be on the floor to light up the legs and the feet.
And that's what got me into doing Photoshop and replacing my background. Was I always had my lights in the pictures and I had to remove them. So I thought, why not just do Photoshop, learn it, get good at it, and put people in their own backgrounds. And you can see I have a fan sitting there to the left beside the Coca-Cola set. And when you turn that thing on, I tell you, everything was moving in that little area there.
And that's on low. That's a high velocity fan. It works great.
So these next images were done in my basement. This was a unplanned session. Kazda, our model, had just walked for a designer in a fashion show wearing a black dress. She contacted me to see if I would be interested in collaborating. I made a suggestion. I had this paper flamenco style dress from a local designer and was still looking for a model. I wanted somebody that could dance. I asked if they were interested in my vision of this dress. Kazda was excited. And she turned out to be perfect because she was a dancer. Kazda also got her nails done, and I contacted my jewelry lady and makeup artist, and everyone was on board to create some magic.
This is a dispersion effect in Photoshop that makes it look like she's falling apart. So we thought of Heather thought of the title "I Fall to Pieces," the Patsy Cline song.
So this was the first shoot?
The first look from this shoot. There was two looks, and there's a few more images from that part of the shoot.
So you get to see how the paper dress look.
So these are all the things that we had to bring on board in order to be able to make this particular shoot happen in a short period of time.
So that's my standard 5 lights.
You can actually tell that dress is made out of paper. It was an incredible dress. You wouldn't want to get it wet though.
I wish I knew the designer's name. I just can't remember her right now.
That's quite a while ago now, yeah.
So here's the second look. After we finished with the paper dress, we took a half-an-hour break, and Diana, the makeup artist, completely changed. She changed Kazda's look. The crown she's wearing in this image was made by me. It's made out of construction paper. And then I added the black flowers on each side. The whole photo shoot took about 4.5 hours or 4 hours, something like that.
And then after looking at the pictures and doing the editing, you sort of came up with the idea that this really made you think almost of Lady Macbeth. So that's why you called it Lady Macbeth.
These 2 images for sure.
Yeah.
So the red rose represents the blood.
And this one could be called Outdam Spot. So this was all shot on gray. So all of the blue you're seeing in the background, even through the veil, is all Heather doing the Photoshop to make it look like that.
And this is another one that made me think of Lady Macbeth, as she's holding the dagger behind her back.
With the skull.
I know it's a very small skull He had a very small head. The Fairy King and his daughters. This guy, he does a lot of cosplay, and he likes to bring his daughters, he has 3 of them, to a lot of the cosplay events. And we ended up doing an on location photo shoot.
Yeah, it was at the Shaw Conference Center in Edmonton. They did a bunch of stuff outside during the day, and then Heather made a suggestion that they come to the studio for some more creative stuff. And if you look at this picture, you'll notice he's wearing that black paper crown. That's the same paper crown that was in the Macbeth image, and we added that to the antlers that he had on his head. It just seemed to fit.
So the candle that's inside the lantern, I put in there, and I put a flame inside there as well.
In the background, once again, shot on gray, as are the rest of these.
And that was all done in that basement studio. Here's his 3 daughters.
Yeah, they're quite some, and they're all into this big time. They just thoroughly enjoyed it. That little girl in the purple, loved her. Heather loved her look so much. She asked me to put up the swing that I made, and this is the image that came out of that.
Yeah, and once again, the candle is I put the candle inside the lantern and put a flame on there, put her in a background, and yeah.
You got merit for this at the regional salon. No, that was the national salon, sorry, for this year.
Time flies.
It does.
So this was a planned project. A clothing designer that I met at the Ethno Fashion Gala came to me and asked if I'd like to collaborate with her. She had a makeup artist already and 2 models, and she was looking for a creative photographer, and she remembered me from the fashion show.
So I knew a guy who sold musical instruments, and he had this really eclectic store just packed from the floor to the ceiling with guitars and you name it. And in there I had seen 2 sitars, and neither one of them was usable or playable, and they were dirty, and I was trying to convince him to let me take the 2 of them and make one so that we could have it for this shoot. And he was humming and hawing, he didn't really want to do it, and then I brought Heather in and we brought him a coffee, and while his attitude changed entirely, he was just beaming over Heather, and he couldn't wait to please her. So we said, oh yes, sure. And I asked him how much was the rent. He said, no, don't worry about it, just take it. So I took it and we fixed it, cleaned it up, put 2 together to make one, and then took it back to him after we were done. But that's for a beautiful instrument. I couldn't begin to understand how to play it though.
And you could see in this image we were using gels, and I think we had a little bit of fog going on in there too.
We had the smoke machine going, and then it was once again all shot on gray paper. So depending on how you light the fog as to whether you see the paper.
So this is the second model. And I just love using the fan because it makes the picture come to life. The hair moves, the clothing moves. It's like a novel, a storytelling novel.
Yeah, novel cover, yeah.
A romance novel kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Jekyll and Hyde. This was fun. This is my very first time taking an attempt to composite, to work in Photoshop. And this is the result of my arm. I was working with a mouse instead of a pen, and I tore my bicep doing it. I guess squeezing the mouse too hard, I guess.
Hard to believe, yeah.
Hard to believe I did that.
So,
this is from the show Jekyll and Hyde from 1931. I love the old movies, and I wanted to create something. I wanted to do a picture of Jekyll and Hyde sitting playing chess. This was on my Jeep.
this is kind of a metaphor for the whole story about the 2, is that it's a constant battle between good and evil, and calm and controlled and out of control and angry. And it was who's going to win? Will it be the calm person, or will it be the monster? And this is the same guy playing both parts, so she did an excellent job on this.
So I contacted him. He wanted to do a photo shoot with me, so I contacted him, and he had a beard, and I said, "Are you willing to shave?" And he said yes. And I said, "Okay, perfect." So we started off with him wearing the beard, and we added some fake teeth, and that's the image on the right. And when we finished with that session, those photos, I got him to shave, change his vest color, and then I photographed the images on the left. And then I put it together, and what is that called with 3 images?
A triptych. So this was a triptych where the other image from the previous slide was in the middle. And you could tell, like, having fun with the lighting. So on the left, he's a lot more broad lighting. It's a little bit flatter. I mean, it's still dynamic, but the one on the right is very dynamic. There's a lot more shadow, a lot more grit. You can tell it just makes him look a lot angrier and more like a monster. I think we had a lot of fun with that one.
So this one was based on a trip that we took down to New Orleans, Voodoo, and we went on a tour through the graveyard.
Yep. And we also went to a voodoo shop down there. We found out a lot about the religion. It's not what Hollywood makes it out to be, but we thought the Hollywood version's a lot more fun, so that's what we went for. Heather designed this hat as well, and we created the staff. It was just lots of fun. It was a friend of mine from work, and he and his wife came, and another fella, and we just had a bunch of fun in the studio.
And he also brought his snake.
Yes, he did, yeah.
So I like to put a spin on some of my projects. And this was a female fashion model. She loved that she could emote a character, and she jumped on board with this. I have a case of Coca-Cola bottles in the studio, and I like to give a bottle to the models to see how they can pose with it. And this was an unplanned thing, that the saying of the image just was perfect for it. It's the real thing. I didn't realize it until afterwards, and we were looking at the picture and going, wow, we have a perfect saying for this picture.
Yeah, and it turned out pretty dark. It was supposed to be Christmas with it. So we did have some images with a young girl that were more for the family, but some other images Heather created as well. Heather, as you may have noticed, likes the dark stuff. So here's a couple more images from that same shoot.
Mixing the, just putting a twist on things.
So we have these tricycles. There's 2 of them, a large one and a smaller one. And the one on the right is called Ward C. So yeah, something right out of a creepy movie, where if you saw that guy pedaling around in the insane asylum, you might think twice about going down that hallway. She did a great job though, and our makeup artist Deanna, once again, that was her makeup. It typically takes a couple hours to get all the makeup done. This is Deanna on the left.
Yeah, this is 2019, and this is Nymph. This was a trade for some makeup art that she did, and she would do the makeup for me, and thought, hey, I have a photo shoot I want to do, and I want to show my creative side. And she said, can we do a trade? And I'm like, I'd love that.
Yeah, she and her friend came over and hung the swing again, and this is what Heather created out of it. I love it. I think it's way out there.
So here is a before picture, and this is still in the basement studio. And you can see this makeup artist, Ashley, only painted her face
in her chest.
And painted his face.
And she had these nylons and sleeves on that had the scars on them. And he was wearing just a glove with a skeleton hand on it. And then
They both were very tall.
yes, very tall, very slender. Yeah.
So here's the after. And you can see where I painted in her skin to match the makeup color that Ashley did on her face.
And he's sewing the cloth heart onto her dress. Oh.
And here's another one. Before. I think this is my favorite.
I think so too.
And after.
Yeah, what a difference that makes, eh? It's huge. So don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. So if you limit yourself as to how far you're going to go or how far you're going to push yourself, you're not going to move forward. But if you're constantly challenging your limits.
And this kind of goes with the next set of images that we're going to show.
So this was about you challenging your limits.
Yeah.
Thalassophobia.
He's saying it because I can't. So this is my surreal composite work. These are a few of my primal fears. Some are large, some are small.
Some are irrational.
Yeah, I just I had to challenge myself to do about, say, 10 different things and then create them. And I always have a lot of them in my head.
So, and one of the hard parts, of course, is finding the stock. So here's all the stock images that she bought or was able to collect to use for this particular image. And yeah, I think it's cool.
There you go. So what are your fears and what does this image say to you? So what it says to me is that I just have a hard time looking down the well and all you see is this milky film on the water and your reflection looking back at you, and it just all of a sudden my mind starts to go stupid crazy and I start thinking, how deep is that? What's down there? Did something die in there? I'm not drinking that water.
Yeah, and just creep away from the edge and don't look down anymore. Release the Kraken.
And like I said, my mind and my imagination just goes crazy. My mom always said I had a creative imagination.
Arachnophobia.
So, what does this say to you?
Me personally, I don't have a big love for spiders. I'm not terribly afraid of them or anything unless they're running at me and they're big. So, I mean, yeah, this is creepy as hell. This reminds me of that Eight-Legged Freaks, that movie Eight-Legged Freaks. Right? So where did you come up with this idea? Obviously, this is something that has caused you problems in the past.
Well, we used to own this house in Windermere, BC, and we would have to go outside, open up this door on the outside, and it was covered in metal, so it was really heavy, and you had to hold it up with a piece of wood. And then you go down these dark stairs, and then you had to open up another door, reach your arm in the dark, to try to find the string to turn the light on. Yikes. The spider webs touching your skin was just, no.
Too much?
Too much. And to set it all off was when my sister decided to shut the big door on me and leave me in the dark. But she got into trouble for that because Mom heard me screaming. So yeah, and then every time I see something about spiders, I'm like, even when I sleep in bed and I put my hand underneath my pillow and I'm wondering, I hope a spider didn't climb in our bed. So what does this say?
Well, I see this young lady floating in an inner tube, nice and calm, beautiful day, the sun's starting to set, the birds are flying, the water's nice and calm. And meanwhile, all below the surface,
3/4 of the surface.
monsters of the deep.
So if you ever watch a movie, just pay attention to the colors that they use, especially in scary shows. You'll see where the dark blues and all that are the scary part, the unknown, and the yellows and oranges and all that are soft and warm and welcoming. So yeah, you're not going to get me into open ocean water. I grew up also in Port Hardy, and we always had to go out there in the ocean and learn to swim.
And how did your mom teach you that?
She dragged me out and threw me in the water.
No wonder you have a fear of water.
But yeah, some of my primal fears. Here's my next one. So this image, the elements in it, the chessboard with an hourglass on it is half full. And the either side of the top, stormy clouds with lightning. The sun is in the middle, which, the sun is nice and warm. And under the chessboard are roots fading from blue to black. On the chessboard are marbles falling off into the darkness. What fear does this represent? Losing my marbles. So this is a tough one. My dad passed away in 2021 from dementia, and I was diagnosed with SVD, which is
small vessel disease, where there are microlesions in the white matter of the brain. Don't know what the cause is, but it does tend to be a precursor to dementia.
The lightning represents the lesions on the white matter in my brain scan. The hourglass represents my time left. The roots are the generations before me that had dementia, and it's very high. The board represents my life as a game, and I'm actually aware that it may or may not happen to me. I have a fear of losing my marbles.
I'll get you a new bag.
Yeah, just what's that show where the guy loses his marbles?
Oh, that was Hook, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peter Pan.
We all have challenges. We have to face them, embrace them, defy them, and conquer them. If you don't, you are not moving forward.
Every year I do something fun or creative for the May 4th.
And this one year we got together these two models that we know and dressed one up as Darth Vader and the other one up as a stormtrooper. And this was Darth Vader's day off. And we went all over town taking pictures. We went into Tim Hortons where we found some dark roast for the dark side. And we also managed to convince them to let us into the Imperial Bank of Commerce downtown for this classic shot of Darth Vader coming down the escalator.
So the first image is a picture of our two boys, and the second one is their two models from the first pictures that you saw of us going around the city.
Yep.
So the story behind the two boys, our boys playing with the baseball and the bat.
Yeah, when they were very young, they're 2 years apart, so they'd probably been about 8 and 10. And Gary, the older one, dressed as Darth Vader, decided, well, why don't you stand right over there and with this bat, and I'm going to throw this ball at you. He thought he was going to hit his brother with the ball, but his brother was a little too close, and when he swung the bat, Gary changed his mind after that. So it was just one of those classic childhood moments that we wanted to recreate.
And they didn't tell us about that until they were adults.
Oh yeah, that was a lot. Yeah,
The
there's
things
lots of
you
little
find
secrets.
out, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one on the right was still back to that Darth Vader's Day Off. So he's got the world's best boss mug, and in his newspaper, which is the Imperial Times, which is I got a chance to flex my artistic muscle a little bit and create that newspaper. It's kind of cool. If you look on the back of it, there's used TIE fighters for sale and that kind of thing. And we had a Star Wars comic book that he's sitting in Darth's chair, and Darth is not too happy about it.
So I had a client contact me looking for a Star Wars themed photo shoot, and because her husband was a Star Wars nerd.
Major Star Wars nerd.
Oh yeah. When she came in for a consult, I talked about the different things she wanted in the background. I suggested I could recreate a poster for her as a piece of fan art. The dress, she was very tall. The dress only came to just below her knees, and her braid only came to the top of her shoulder. So I had a lot of photoshopping to do to make her dress and braid long, and then I created all the backgrounds. So there's quite a few different pictures of this, and then the poster, she ended up buying 2 posters, and there was 8 pictures of her.
Yep. And this is one of the posters she did, which is almost a direct recreation of Return of the Jedi poster.
So there's lots of different elements, in there, and they're all individual. And I started off with making the land. So that was like 3 or 4 different pieces to put together with the trees and the background and the sky. That, and then you had to find all of the little stock images for the stars, the galaxy, the fighters,
the Death Star. It's a lot of work, but I think it turned out great. And they've got a big poster of this. They hung up at home. Every project is an opportunity to learn, to figure out problems and challenges, and to invent and reinvent.
So this kind of goes with the next set of images. I like to challenge myself.
And then invent it and reinvent it.
So in 2023, I challenged myself to create a new Star Wars themed image leading up to May 4th. So that was like 6 days of working. And there's 6 images, separate images. And this one, Steve came up with the name of it.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I love this one.
So this is all on the supposition that the Death Star came to Earth.
I can even hear those little fighters.
Yep. A lot of fun, that's for sure, eh?
Oh, I love this one. I think this is my favorite. Because it all relates to no matter what's going on out there, you better get that perfect shot.
Yep. Like the photographer's just calmly got his gear all set up and just taking this perfect shot of the Death Star that's about to blow up the Earth.
So this year, I was sick in bed, and I was able to pull myself out of the bed and create this one.
That's from The Mandalorian. So it was a one-day challenge, and you've got about maybe 10 images in there, I think, that are all combined together along with some other effects. She had to create the shadow, and change the lighting on some of the stuff.
But it was fun. So here's another challenge. I wanted to see if I could create something different. I just want to create art. So these are the elements. You got your aliens, your spaceship, a house, for sale sign. You know, you got your mountains or your grass and in the sky.
How'd that turn out?
What do you think?
There goes the neighborhood.
So you wonder what's going on in all those abandoned old houses out there in the fields and everything?
They're full of illegal aliens.
Wouldn't you just like to just jump the fence and go and check it out? Maybe have a party with them?
I don't know. They look pretty tall. They're probably taller than I am. I like how someone shot up that sign now.
But if you look at the shadows, I created all the shadows of them and the spaceships up in the sky. Made their eyes glow green. It was fun. I really enjoyed this. So then I wanted to create another one, just similar to it.
Yeah, that's a very bleak landscape, but it looks so cool, so realistic too, right?
Thank you.
I like it. If you're walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress. We know lots of photographers who over the years have gotten to a point in their career where they're good at what they do and decide to stay there. And that's absolutely fine if that's what you want to do. But I don't see that being you.
No.
You're always looking for something else, so you just keep walking on the path instead of sitting down and staying where you're at. And that's the path to progress.
Well, ever since I did that Jekyll and Hyde and working to create, a look with the same character, I thought, I can do this.
Yeah, so you've got all these ideas in your head that before you would have to try and draw them and paint them, and now you can use photography and Photoshop to tell your stories the way you want to, right?
I work a lot with musicians and bands. I'm known by my style. That's what they say to me. And I take individual photos and composite them to make one image. This image, I had everyone stand in their spot to make sure that they knew where to stand. I pulled the guys out, took the photo of the women on the couch, and then I got the guys to go back in, stand, and then the girls came out. And then I took that picture.
And we were able to light them all separately, so that rather than trying to light an entire group like that, you're only lighting 2 or 3 people at a time. Makes life a little easier.
This is the same group. And the tall lady in red, her name is Kat Van Coven. She has this 7-foot Halloween dragon that she keeps in her house at all times. It literally took over her small little kitchen. She wanted it to be used in one of the background photos, so I put it in this one. These are all individual pictures of each member put together, and the reason I do this is that a lot of times you'll lose a member or you gain a member, and they wanted to, just in case somebody wasn't going to be there, I could always take them out and replace them with a new character. And I also do this to control the lighting.
And trying to light that dragon in that kitchen, that was a lot of fun. So we had a couple of lights with us and just trying to position them around to the point where you could get the lighting you wanted. That was a lot of fun, but it turned out great.
I couldn't get the full body of the dragon, but the head was perfect. So this is another local band, and each member was sitting in the black chair. And I took, got them to do like maybe 5 different poses on the chair to whatever pose they wanted. And then I composite them all together to make one banner. And the logo, Ahead by a Century, was made by Steve. He designed this on the computer.
Yeah, so I was looking at one of their album covers for Tragically Hip, and they had one that had a bottle cap on it with their name on it. So I thought, well, that's perfect. They love the logo and love the images. They'll probably come back for some more. They have to change out their drummer. So here you go.
That wasn't easy.
Yep.
Where's that easy button?
That was easy.
This was also individually photographed. Their name being Ruby and the Hitman. I thought of this because we sit down and have a consult talk with everybody that comes into the studio, and I talked to them and I said, wouldn't it be so cool if you guys used your instruments as weapons, and I put you in a back alley.
And it was kind of looking at that Paul McCartney album, Band on the Run, and that kind of a concept. So they loved the idea. This was turned into almost like an album cover. You can see the stereo little logo in the bottom corner, and they use this as their major promotional material now.
And again, they came to me with, then we were sitting down and talking, and they showed me two of my images, the one of the fire dancing and another one with a wolf on a cliff. And it was their style, the vibe that they were going for their band. And she said that they lost their guitar player, but they're looking at a new guy. And down the road, they wanted to bring him in for some photos. And so it took an hour and a half for him to get ready for the photo shoot. 15-20 minutes to do the photo, and all of a sudden I put it all together, and you can't even tell which one I added in.
To the original 5.
Yeah.
Yep. Because they're all shot individually. So, hint, it's a guy on the right.
Oh, you're not supposed to give it away.
That's the band Forsaken Right. So they are a folk metal band, and this is how they dress when they're on stage.
And it's all made. Like they make their costumes. Yeah. So this is Bear Grease. They're a local group of indigenous actors. We were approached by them because they wanted to have a different look. Everybody else almost had it, but not quite, and they wanted to see what we could do, and they were completely blown away. He told me what he wanted, and he wanted this Ferris wheel in the background with them all dancing around the Ferris wheel and jumping, and it was fun.
And Heather's already had to add a couple of people to this one, and she's going to replace another one. The lady in the red sweater is retiring. They're on the road right now in Vancouver, and they'll be touring all over the North America in the next little while. They're going to New York off Broadway next year.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a billboard, hopefully in Times Square, but we want to get down there and get a chance to see this when it goes up on the billboard and watch the show again. Amazing show. It's based on the 1978 movie Grease, but it's an indigenous twist to it. It's hilarious.
And you have to go see it. It's funny.
Yeah.
Very well done. Yeah. Crystal and Cloud. So it's what is the name that they call themselves?
Lightning Cloud.
There
so
you go.
Crystal Lightning and Henry Cloud.
Yeah. So I love to work with automotives, and I like to turn them into posters. So what was it that Jerry contacted us for when we first met him?
So Jeremy is he's a promoter for NASCAR, and the name of his company is Zamongo, and they'd gotten permission from the city of Calgary to shut down the tunnel going under the airport, and asked Heather if she'd want to come and take some pictures of them while they were coming through the tunnel. So that was the first time we met him.
And because of his name, Zamongo, every time I kept saying that, Zamongo, I'm like, that's almost like Zombieland. And I approached him and I said, would you like to do a poster of your company and call yourselves...
Your crew?
Yeah, your crew, and call yourselves Zamongoland? And he just loved it. So we went off to Calgary to do this photo shoot, and the sky is replaced and the road is replaced, but his 3 vehicles in the back they were there, and that's him on the right.
Mr. Intensity.
And his wife on the left. And then it's a father-son.
And yeah, it was really cool. That was the lighting. The sun was setting. Those are the shadows that were there. And then we just added a fill light to each one of them to just to make them a little bit brighter.
And this is our daughter, our granddaughter, and her husband. And her favorite show to watch growing up was Twister. So I thought, hey, I'm going to put a cow behind you in a Twister.
This was during the pandemic. We had met in Red Deer to go for lunch, and as we were leaving, Heather suggested, hey, just pull over here on the side of the road. I just want to take a quick picture. They had no idea what Heather was planning on doing with it, but this is the way it turned out.
Charlie's Angels.
So this Andrea Strang is the model, and it was basically shot on the side of the road by Gateway Park. That is not the background, that is not the sky.
I put that all in there, and that was her husband's car. Yeah.
And very fast car. And what mistake did you make on that one?
I forgot my tripod.
So this was all shot freehand, and you still managed to piece it all together.
Yeah, I did. I can't believe it. That was crazy.
So once again, that was a setting sun to camera left, and then we added some fill light on the right.
Smokey and the Bandit. So this was a planned shoot with a group of car owners.
Same location, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facing the same direction on that same road.
Yeah.
And what was it that the organizer did?
Yeah, so a friend of ours, Garrett, he knew some guys from the EPS, Edmonton Police Service, and called them up, and they said, yeah, we'll come on down. And they came down and handed out fake tickets for not being a Mustang. And then we had a model, Tiffany, who was dressed up as a cop, and she was there. So, and once again, background, that is the city of Edmonton, but that was not shot that way.
Yeah, I added the sky, the road, the city, everything, and then I, do my color matching and
turned on the lights on the cop car.
Yeah, and it was fun, and this is what I love to do with automotives. I love to create posters or whatever you want.
Yeah, you get that poster size and hung right on your wall.
In your man cave or in your garage.
Right.
That's where Garrett has all of his pictures hung.
Yeah.
In his garage.
Hi, Chelsea.
When I joined the PPOC, Chelsea saw my Nightmare Before Christmas images and asked if I would do a photo shoot with her and her husband and one of her dogs. And she turned these into her Christmas cards. And in the middle one is Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sweet Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she loved these. The makeup artist for this was Deanna. So in these images, I added the castle into the background. So the grass in the front is all original, and the grass in the back with the castle and the sky are all different pieces that I added to these pictures.
And the horse is Jose Jalapeno. A friend of ours, Amanda, owns him. She rescued him from a glue factory and then taught him to do tricks, and he is amazing. We have done lots of shoots with this horse. He's cured my fear of horses, and he's about to retire now. I guess he's getting a little too old to do these kind of moves, but wow, what a horse. Yeah,
he hurt his one leg, so yeah, he has to do stretches first before he does the poses.
Okay, yeah. I have to do stretches just before I think about standing up. I think about stretching.
So what is the story?
So it's the same thing we talked about earlier, like what Heather has in mind for this image may not be what you see. So that's the thing about storytelling with pictures, is that every person who looks at this may get a different version of what this story is. To me, this is about an inner conflict between good and evil, and the shame that comes from being evil, and let's just drop everything that's causing the problem and move forward.
So that's basically what it is this is the same model, and she brought her black dress and I pulled out my white one, and we did some photos, and I added the background, the feathers, and this image is called Drop the Feather. That means to let it go. Let go of what's bothering you. Let's start all over. Let's be good.
And I think I recognize that crown on the left.
Yeah, there's that crown again.
Yeah. We don't throw stuff out, we just hang on to it. Trust me, we got lots of props.
So this one, again, was, you know, a collaboration with Amanda, and we created this photo shoot, Country Boys.
It was a calendar that was raising money for an equestrian center. And yeah, he can hold that pose for about 10 seconds. And Kellen was right on, like he had his leg basically pointed the same way. They're both looking the same direction. You changed out the sky in this one, right?
Yeah, I changed out the sky in all of the ones from the calendar because of we were in the middle of a smoke season. It was a lot of fires in BC.
The lighting was phenomenal. It was like in one big softbox, right? So you got
that's where you get that nice,
lighting.
Yeah, that nice soft look.
And we would add a fill light periodically too with a flash.
And we had to introduce everything to Josie.
Slowly.
It's like, you know, Steve made a mistake of opening up the
6-foot reflector. I just gave it a shake and it went whoop.
It's a good thing he didn't jump.
Yeah.
So here's some of the images from that calendar photo shoot that we did. This is Dustin, the guy that I worked with in the Gladiator photo shoot. And I call this one Donkey Candy.
He didn't know that Pedro was there. And Pedro was just reaching up to sniff him. But yeah, that was when you can tell he was a lot bulkier then than when he did the Gladiator.
And the other one is...
I'm trying to remember his name.
He's a dancer.
Yeah, and he's a ballet dancer. Actually, he's very, very good. And he and Jose hit it off big time. And I like the treatment you did to it. It looks almost like it's a painting, right?
Yeah. So something else I love to do every year, my Christmas minis.
And yeah, the type of people we get for these, they all want something unique and different, not just sitting around and taking nice family pictures. We've got tons of props.
Yeah, they're not the traditional Christmas photos where you're sitting as a family or you're sitting with Santa. You know, be a kid, have fun. I have so many different props, like you can see, and I get the adults on the kid toys, and you know, he brought his cat in, and they brought their dog in for that one, and it was fun.
And the first ones there, we shot them ever since she was a little girl. So yeah, and it's very almost Norman Rockwell-esque kind of look to it.
A project I like to do all the time to make everything, you know, make it aware of what's going on out there. And I like to create a poster or a picture piece of art that will hang on the wall for people to look at, and it always reminds them of the things that need to change.
And talking about it. We want people to talk about it. So the whole concept behind this was to raise awareness around missing and murdered Indigenous women and children and boys, two spirits. So that's what the red dress represents. You probably have heard of the Red Dress Project. So originally Heather was contacted to be involved in one of these shoots, and it was supposed to be just out in the woods taking pictures. and it snowed that day, and gave Heather an opportunity to get into the studio and do some more creative stuff. So this is from the second iteration of this.
That was 2023.
And yeah, this one was right.
Both.
And then you can see, so most of the stuff is stock. However, the image of the woman in the left-hand one was shot in the studio, and the image of the girl in the right-hand one, where she's leaning back, was shot in the studio, and the rest is all stock that she added and layered and turned into these very provocative, very beautiful, haunting images. Yeah,
this was my first time creating a double exposure. It was fun, and I loved it. It's called Change.
Yeah, and it won excellence. So this was part of that original group of images that was done. The girl in the corner picture is Branson. She was the one she's a two-spirit who did the silhouette for Heather. And then the image itself is like that silhouette represents all of the missing, murdered Indigenous women. The ravens are the messengers from the dead. And then the raven on the bench represents the family waiting for their loved ones to come home. And of course, the red dress represents the missing and murdered Indigenous women. And this one was originally was slated for merit in the Alberta Image Salon, and then got called back. And when someone sort of educated the judges a little bit on what the symbology was here, and it got raised to an excellence, and actually won the Pat Eisenbarth Award for 21. So that quite the accomplishment. This is shown up in galleries all around the world now. Heather's sold a few of these prints, and we know quite a few people who have them.
And when you walk into my studio, that's the first thing you see hanging on the wall above the coffee table. So the one on the left with the three ladies is called Voices of Change, and the one with the feather is called Silent No More.
And the one on the left has won multiple national and international awards, as well as getting merit in both the provincial and national salon.
This is mother and her two-spirit child.
So that's the same child who is in the white one with the silhouette. And another version of the three ladies
put into feathers,
along with the birch forest, which has a symbology as well.
So in 2018, I was in the Ethno Fashion Gala. I had about 20 headpieces for this event. Right now I have over 30. Some are at the studio in one of the back storage rooms, and the others are here at home. And I also made some of the outfits. So the mermaid I made, Medusa, Forest, Pixie, and I think that's it.
Yeah, you were the hit of that fashion gala.
So your team. This is Melissa, and she is from A Beautiful You Artistry and
Aesthetics.
And she did the makeup for Jekyll and Hyde, the Cat's Cradle,
the Voodoo one,
the pink dress, where I made that dress right after my mom passed away. And
yeah, and then was the steampunk version of Snow White.
Lucia. She does a lot of the wedding makeup and hair, And around Halloween, she loves to get together and create art with her other side. And you can see down with the headpiece, that's one of my headpieces, and that's the type of makeup she does most of the time.
Yeah, and she has a lot of crystal skulls too, very good at that stuff.
Brittany. We just started to work together, and I love her style, and I hope to see more of this and work more with her. She's the one that did the scars and blood and everything on the Gladiator, and was a part of the Behind the Veil. This is Ashley. She did the makeup for The Nightmare Before Christmas and The Fire Dancing and a few others.
She does a lot of fashion stuff.
And Deanna. As you can see, we've worked a lot together. I did a traveling dress with gold, and we did that one. Another traveling dress for the Celtic. The black traveling dress, it was international. She was also on the, was it?
For the Star Wars, Princess Leia.
Yeah. The white traveling dress.
Yeah, she's done a lot of traveling dresses.
Yeah, I think she's done pretty well all of them.
Yeah.
I think that, every single traveling dress she was, except for the yellow and red one that was on the horse.
Right.
But yeah.
Very talented lady.
So where do I get my stock? Shutterstock, iStock, Unsplash, DeviantArt, Penguin, many more.
And as long as we know that we have permission to use it, either through attribution or we're paying for it, we do pay a considerable amount of money for stock. A lot of that gets billed back to our clients, but even then, if Heather's creating art, she would rather just be able to buy the stock, and then she's got quite the collection of it that she can use too. So she does use some stuff over and over again, but yeah, that's other than that, you don't really. We don't go out
some of
shooting
the
stock.
I've been adding a lot of my own stuff.
Yeah, more so lately, but for the longest time we didn't, and that's probably what takes you the most amount of time, is trying to find
the right stock
to go with an image. So it's 5 days of editing, and 4 of those are looking for stock.
Exactly. So this is my new studio. I've been in this location since 2021. The space is about 750 square feet. It's in the Capilano area. Steve and I put on workshops and host the Goya for the social events. Steve, you can talk about how we have the lighting set up.
So we have a 4-track system that allows us to move the lights around anywhere in the space, hanging from the ceiling on what's called a pantograph. We do have a couple of lights on smaller stands, but for the most part, there's no stands on the floor. There's very few cables. So it just gives a nice clean shooting area. We're using Godox, got a wide variety of modifiers, from reflectors to octoboxes to parabolics to strip lights to snoots, overhead light. It's a great place to shoot. And we've got, if we can put light anywhere.
Yeah. So I have a sitting area with a south-facing window. All the furniture is used as props, so we just pick it up, carry it into the shooting area, and you can sit on it or stand on it, whatever you want. There is a changing area just off from the bathroom, And I have 2 storage rooms that are full of many different outfits and props and headpieces. So, you can see in the bathroom where I have my wall of fame of all of the musicians that I brought in to work with that I did the high key, and that's one of my accreditations was my high key. And yeah, it's all fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a great space. We do love working out of there for sure.
We rent it out if anybody wants to rent it, and you get one of us or both of us to help with so that you don't have to worry about that.
About the lighting aspect of it, yeah, we'll help you out with that.
That way you don't have to get on a chair like I do, trying to get the lights down after you push them up on me.
Well, that's what you get for having a tall husband. If you don't challenge yourself, you will never realize what you can become. I think that speaks for itself. So get out there and challenge yourself.
So thank you for tuning in to this presentation. I'm greatly honored to have been asked to speak and show my work and talk about my mood boards and how I create stuff and where my imagination comes from. If something comes to you, grab it, or else it's just going to move on to somebody else.
Yep, somebody else come up with that idea.
If you have any questions, please send me a message or an email, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
See you, everybody.
Bye.